The Albany Empire, the city of champions for the first time in 20 years. Their second AFL title. Tommy Grady, our TransFinder player of the game. Embraced by his teammates and by the soul. Confetti rains down at the Times Union Center.
Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About, hosted by yours truly, Zach Kyleman. As you just heard, that was John Meter-Perrell and Cedric Bonner as they had announced the final for ArenaBowl 32. Your Albany Empire for the 2019 season have taken home the ArenaBowl Championship, the first ArenaBowl Championship for Albany, New York in 20 years, under a different name, of course, this time. The last time that they won was in 1999, under the name the Albany Firebirds, who would eventually, after the 1999 season, move to my home state of Indiana in Indianapolis. Well, as we saw, it was an impressive ArenaBowl 32. For Albany, it actually got off pretty shaky, but they were able to stabilize themselves and capitalize on some key moments in this contest, in which I'm going to bring that and give you some highlights as to what turned the tide for the Empire, because it was indeed some impressive moments, and specifically an impressive set of few minutes in the game that really turned the tide and made the official turning point for Albany to take home both the Foster Trophy and the new ArenaBowl belt that the AFL has instilled for this season and beyond. I'm also going to bring in, of course, we're going to talk about the future of the Arena Football League, because there's a lot that has been going on that's been buzzing about what the league is bringing to the table come 2020 moving forward. The path to an ArenaBowl 32 championship would not be, as I say, easy peasy lemon squeezy for the Albany Empire, as, of course, Philadelphia, who had rattled off 5 of 6 games left in the 2019 season as wins, would come out swinging in this contest. None other than Darius Prince would lead off the scoring as he caught a 34-yard touchdown pass from Dan Raudabaugh early in the first quarter. It wouldn't take long for Albany to become stuck in a pickle, as they would say, as Malachi Jones, who was the offensive player of the league for 2019, would actually have a fumble forced on him early on in the first quarter by none other than Defensive Player of the Year, James Romaine. That fumble would be recovered by Tyrell Robinson, and Philadelphia would get the ball back in Albany territory. Now, Albany really needed someone to provide a spark that could lift them back into the game and avoid them going down 2 possessions early on and then moving into mid-first quarter. And sure enough, Maurice Leggett brought that intensity.
Deep drop by Raudabaugh for the end zone and an interception. Here comes Albany bringing it out. It's Maurice Leggett in the open field, and he has a pick 6. Touchdown, Albany.
Now, after that crucial pick 6, both teams would exchange 1 touchdown apiece and make it 14-14. Philadelphia would eventually get the ball back once more to try and go up 21-14, but Albany would have other plans on 4th down and 10.
4th down and 10. Raudabaugh and a drop at the wall. So a win for the Albany defense, as Lonnie Outlaw could not engulf it.
Now, that 4th down stop by the Albany Empire was a lot more crucial than you think. For you see, the Albany Empire were able to retake the lead on possessions with that 4th down stop and that Lonnie Outlaw drop. As Albany would go and charge down the field, Quentin Sims would catch his 2nd touchdown pass of the day. Now, Philadelphia would go back and tie the game up 21-21 on a Darius Prince touchdown, and these last 5 minutes of the second quarter after this tie score are the most crucial and are basically what allowed Albany to take control and basically take ArenaBowl 32 without even having to play the second half. Honestly, these last 5 minutes are what determined ArenaBowl 32 in my opinion. And it all began with a Philadelphia onside kick that was converted by Philadelphia. Philadelphia would get the ball back with roughly 4 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock. But with 4 minutes and 24 seconds left to play, Terrence Moore and Maurice Leggett would change the course of Arena Bowl 32.
Good throw again by ArenaBowl. Now
Ball's
one
out,
completion
ball's out.
shy, but here comes
It's fumbled.
Albany with the football, Maurice Leggett. But there's a miscue by Prince.
With the strip by Terrence Moore and the recovery by Maurice Leggett, all it was up to now was Albany to reclaim the lead, and Quentin Sims surely would do it in the most brutal of fashion.
Grady, a wide open Quentin Sims in the open field, and he
stiff
has
arm.
another touchdown. Oh, he just posterized him.
Oh,
25 yards, said Bonner, and that was special.
That stiff arm by Quentin Sims would be an essential play in the highlight reel for ESPN throughout the night as well as after the contest was over. Now, what did make the SportsCenter top 10 would be the next play to come after the Quentin Sims touchdown. For you see, Albany was up 28-21, and in arena football, there's two ways you can play this. You can either go for an onside kick like Philadelphia did and change the possession game back in your favor, or you can play it safe, kick it off, and, possibly just see if you can stop them on defense. And though Albany was getting much more aggressive on the defensive side of the ball as the game was going, Rob Keefe decided that it'd be best just to try it for a little bit of a risk.
Now, an onside kick attempt for Trevino. Oh, that was spectacular. What a play.
Terrence Moore.
Unbelievable.
Stop it.
Rob Keefe, you deserve to celebrate.
And Rob Keefe would definitely celebrate after this play. You got to understand, this play was insane. If you get a chance to find the highlight of Terrence Moore doing basically a front flip to catch this onside kick, you need to find it. It is impressive. And in fact, it made number 2 on SportsCenter's top 10 plays for that night, only behind Simone Biles' record triple, quadruple backflip, or whatever you want to call it. I feel terrible for butchering it, but I don't know the specific term to it. But it was an impressive play in all honesty. And to be even more honest, it really was the final play that would change the game. For you see, Tommy Grady would complete his 4th touchdown pass to Quentin Sims on the day, and that would put the Empire up 35-21 entering the second half. And really, to be honest, the second half of this contest, there's really not much to say. The most I could say about this was that Albany's defense finally had gotten up to speed, and it wasn't just opportunistic. They were dominant in the red zone, stopping Dan Rodabaugh and company for multiple 4th and 10 stops right on the goal line. I mean, it was absurdly impressive how they were able to control the red zone against the Philadelphia Soul. The Albany Empire would score one final touchdown to go up 42-21 at one point with a quick pass to Mikkel Benson. Meanwhile, Philadelphia would also get another response touchdown with a 3-yard TD pass to Lonnie Outlaw. Final score would end up as a 45-27 contest, Albany reclaiming a title in the Arena Football League for its first time in 20 years. And really, it capped off a impressive showing for Arena Bowl 32. I mean, the final attendance for the game was still 12,000 fans. It wasn't a sellout crowd, but it was an impressive crowd at the Times Union Center. And if this is what we're going to get in the future, I am looking forward to the future of the Arena Football League, which, by the way, there's a bit to talk about here, not as much as the game itself, but we're really just waiting on some key points that I'm going to get into here. Now, the hot topic word for the future of the Arena Football League that seems to be thrown around the most right now, and it makes the most sense, is expansion. People want to know, where is the league going to go, especially since Ron Jaworski and ArenaBowl Company announced that the league is going to be expanding to at least 2 to 4 new teams come the 2020 season. And there's a lot of evidence of places where they're going to go or who's going to return. Now, what I mean by return, the Cleveland Gladiators, they were a team that was in the Arena Football League just 2 years ago. The reason being they aren't in the league right now or aren't playing a schedule is that they announced they were going to go on a hiatus so they could fix the Rocket Mortgage Arena and basically revamp it for other purposes and for more attendance-based satisfaction, if you will, for the Cleveland area. And it's been 2 years. This would be the end of the hiatus. They said that they were going to rejoin the league. Now, as that's gone on, there's been more articles saying that it's kind of up in the air if they're going to return. However, there is evidence that it sounds like they're more than likely going to return. At least I have been joining with AFL Fan Zone now for my new podcasts that I release for Arena Football. And we do have some evidence that is suggesting that Cleveland should or is looking to return. It really all depends on the situation and just what they decide. I mean, it sounds like the Arena Football League is trying to give them the biggest opportunity to bring back the team. To be honest, they should bring back the team. This was a successful arena team in 2017 and in previous years. This was another team, too, that was averaging 10,000 fans a game. And to me, that 10,000 fan number, if we're averaging, that's pretty big. Think about it. The Albany Empire averaged 10,000 fans this year. They were a year 2 team. The Cleveland Gladiators have been around for some time. They've hopped around the league and depending on different cities, but they're still an AFL kind of legacy team. The Gladiator logo and name are a legacy team. And Cleveland liked them. They were a likable bunch. I think that they need to come back. I think it makes sense. I think that they have all the capabilities of coming back. It just all depends if the ownership of Dan Gilbert wants to pull the trigger. I think they will. It sounds like there's a high possibility that they will. Now, the other question is, Cleveland aside, where else is the Arena Football League going to go? Now, it sounds like there's going to be 2 new teams that are coming out of expansion. And who knows if that means that Cleveland was one of the new teams. I personally don't think that's the case. I think they are meaning 2 actual new teams that aren't either on hiatus or part of the league right now. So a buddy of ours at AFL Fan Zone has gotten a lot of credit lately from the league as well as others and different entities like arenafan.com and Inside the Arena. His name is Anthony Reinhard. He has an excellent article on our AFL Fan Zone website that goes really deep into kind of the analytics of looking into the selection of the 2 or 4 cities. And it's pretty impressive. Now, his top picks, one of them was Cleveland, by the way, but that's not the number 1 market. His first one is Newark/New York, that area of New York and New Jersey. Reason being, that is right next to all the other East Coast teams. It's also a bigger market. I think that they want to have a mixture of big and small markets. Randall Bowe has actually been quoted on saying that that's what they're looking to do. And their next step would honestly be that area. It would be drawing in the crowd of New York City, and they would also be able to plant themselves in a much more accessible area to grab the New York crowd. They would be competing with the NAL's New York Streets. However, the thing with the Arena Football League is that this is a brand that's been around for over 3 decades now, and it's much more recognizable. Remember, the New York City Dragons were a thing roughly a decade ago, and there's a lot of New York City Dragons fans that would like to see them back. Personally, I would love to see them do this. And I think if you're going to expand to cities that Arena has been in the past, you need to, in my opinion, start using names that were there. So for New York, I think the Dragons would be a great team to bring back. Bring something back along the same color palette. Maybe do something like the Destroyers, just do a slight alteration, to bring it back where it's fresh, but also very memorable. And then one of the other big cities, well, 2 of them I'm going to mention just because I live in this area, because they're also moving out west. They're trying to get back into the Midwest. Columbus was that jab back into the Midwest market, since Cleveland especially bowed out from the hiatus. Hopefully they'll be back. But my thing is, the 2 cities I noticed on the list that Anthony made, one of them was Chicago, which Chicago was number 3 on his list, and then Indianapolis, which was number 5. Indianapolis, just on the selfish side, Indianapolis is where I live right now. If Indianapolis got a team, I would be going to probably almost every home game I could, as long as my job permits, and I would definitely be going to way more Arena Football games, especially since the Columbus game I went to this year won me over on live games for Arena Football. But Indianapolis would be a massive win for myself, and Indianapolis, I think, can fit it. Here, the thing is yes, we do have some summer sports. We have the Indianapolis Indians. We do have the WNBA's Indiana Fever. However, I do think that arena football would work in Indianapolis. It's a small market, but it's not too small. It's actually the perfect mid-range market, if you ask me. And I think it would be supported. And there is some arena football history here. Remember, the Albany Firebirds did move to Indiana previously. People that I have talked to about arena have not forgotten about the Indiana Firebirds when they were here. So it's all possible they come back. The one that I think that's more likely, just because I think it's another big market reach that arena could get back into, and it's also a legacy historical type, is the Chicago area. And to me, this one would be simple. Just put them back, name them the Chicago Rush, get them back in the All-State Arena like they did back in the day, and draw back in the crowd. That was another very successful team that, after the crash of the AFL in 2008, it did have downturn in attendance, partially just because of just bad ownership, as well as a move out to Rockford, Illinois, rather than staying at the All-State Arena. I don't know what happened in that situation, of course, but the All-State Arena is where you would need to go, honestly. You'd go to Rosemont, Illinois, outside Chicago, plant yourself there. I would rename them the Rush and get them back and going. That's another team that has been gone now for 6 years, and I think that they would be able to fit themselves right back into the discussion of getting a popular arena team, and it would be in a large market as well. You'd get another large market under your wing that you could then, I would say, would be one that would support it. So that's my opinion. Again, if you want to see all the options and kind of the analysis, check out our website that I work with, which is AFL Fan Zone, and look for the Deep Expansion Guide by Anthony Reinhard. Again, it's a great read, and it's very analytical, very calculated, and we've had plenty of praise actually from the Arena Football League itself for how we did this, because it sounds like it's very similar to how they're doing it. So if you want any insight as to how they're looking at these teams right now, do that. And with that, for now, the 2019 season has concluded. There's plenty, of course, to look into the 2020 season. Again, we have expansion. We're also going to be waiting for the free agent market to set up and see how much of each team will be retained or who goes where. So there's more to be looking into, obviously, as we head into the fall and NFL season starts to transition in. But I do want to say thank you very much to listening into this podcast, as well as a big shout out to thanking you, the arena football community. I mean, I started this podcast out as kind of just a talking point to get my thoughts and opinions out on sports and anything in between. But since I've gotten into arena football, you guys have been awesome. I love talking about arena football, and I love the response we get. It's a fun sport. It is a fantastic sport that I don't think enough people know about, and I hope to spread that. And I hope to continue doing this with you guys and talking with you and discussing with you about the Arena Football League. Again, as you may know about this podcast, the other future arena podcasts, you can catch us right here on AFL Fan Zone for those. I do also do other podcasts on other sports depending on the timing. I'll probably be jumping into more discussion on, say, the Chicago Bears of the NFL. Probably going to shelf the Big Three discussion I've hinted in other podcasts just because it's the end of the season, and I just could not get around to it. There's just so much to talk about the Arena Football League with this, and I will definitely get to the XFL. There's more happening right now. As I have been looking into more of the news and discussion on the XFL, so that'll be having too. But for all things arena, stick to Let's Talk About with our arena podcast series, as there'll be more to come even after the end of this 2019 season. You'll definitely hear about the expansion news from me, as I will be giddy and I will love to be talking about this on AFLFanzone.com and my other sources that you can find me. Also, check out my social media. I do have a page for Let's Talk About on Facebook that is named Let's Talk About, hosted by Zach Kyleman. You can also catch me on Twitter at Zach Kyleman and on other platforms as well. Thanks again, guys, for listening in. Stick around, and I'll catch you next time.